Good evening, everyone. We'll call this board meeting for Thursday, February 27th, 2025 to order. If you'll join us in the Pledge of Allegiance. John, you want to read the mission, vision, and statement?
Sure. Are you asking me? Yeah. Our mission statement: educating each student to the highest standards while motivating them to reach their fullest potential and graduating them to be college, career, and life ready. Our vision statement: our schools are a place where children belong. Each student is known by name, strength, and need, and provided the education and opportunities to achieve success. Our values: striving for equity, inclusion, and belonging, celebrating diversity, engaging the community, supporting the whole child, promoting and achieving academic excellence.
All right, thank you. Next, we have revision of the agenda. Has anyone got any changes? Okay. We have.
Yeah. Chair, just one change. Director Aparicio is not with us. I recommend tabling to March 13th the discussion item proposed bond timeline until he's with us. Thanks.
Does everybody agree with that? Yep. Okay, so we'll move that to March 13th. We will still listen to public comments on that item, though. Next, we have public comments for agenda items only. The board will accept public comments for February 27th board meeting. The board is committed to the public comment process and will consider all public comment seriously. Public comments for virtual meetings will continue to follow school board policy BDDH, public participation in board meetings. A person speaking during the designated portion of the agenda for public comment may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs. The board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. The board chair will direct the visitor to the procedures in board policy RL, complaints for consideration of a legitimate complaint involving a staff member. Accommodation involving a staff member should be sent to the superintendent, who will forward it to the employee, supervisor, and the board. And we have Ernie Rotz.
Processes on trying to get a new high school, and we've had issues over the years, and there's always seemed to be something missing that we could never figure out what was just the right plan. So I've got a couple of things here, well, that we can try and help us set a plan together that would work, that would get us a new high school in the long run. So part of the process is having a plan. Without a plan, it doesn't look like the process is clear. Then we can't get everything we want for the new high school. So this is a picture of the new high school on the front campus. This is a picture you can sell. This is a picture with everything on the fields, everything right there on the site. So the problem with this picture is that on that site, is 2 other buildings. And so the problem we've had over the years is what to do with those 2 other buildings. So on the next page, there's some property. Okay, what we know too from experience is we can't do this all by ourselves. We need the help of the county, we need the help of the city, we need everybody to be on board with the plan, but we have to have a plan that looks good, looks reasonable, and that'll work over time. So the county has some acres on the west end of town, the Hodges property. And they got like 160 acres. So if we make a plan to first off go for a small bond, say a 5-year bond, to demo 2 buildings and build 1 K8. So then we build the K8 on the Hodges property, just west of town. And then we demo the 2 buildings that are on the Wetonka site. Then we prep it for the new high school complex. Everything's on the site. You don't have to run all over town to go to different games, different practices, different ball fields. Everything's there, and it can be there. But we have to plan first to get rid of the buildings that are there. And so a short-term bond, say a 5-year bond, to demo the 2 buildings, build a grade school, got K8 out there, and then work on getting the site developed for the new high school, then go for a high school bond. And so that would be a longer range plan, but would be taking chunks out first, and then it'd be more reasonable because you could sell this picture. What you can't sell is the things we've tried to do over the past with a partial high school building on the site, because the other buildings are there. And so this would be my recommendation for a long-range plan and a short plan, to get rid of the buildings, build a new K8, go to the county, see what we can do. One of the issues that we do know is that it's in the scenic area. So, but the other thing we know is that we're landlocked. We don't have 22 acres to build a grade school or K8. So if we go with the county says, well, let's see what we can do. And the city goes, yeah, we really want to do that because we want to end up with the high school. We want to end up with this. So we can go as with the city and the county and the school district all get together and go, yeah, we want to use that 22 acres there for a K8. Then we have to go to the scenic commission and say, look, this is the only land we got that comes close to accomplishing what we want to accomplish and get a new high school built in our community. Because everybody in this community wants to see a new high school built. But we got to figure out a plan on how to do it. And this is the plan, how to get there. Do a short-term bond, 5 years, demo 2 buildings, build a K8, and then come back later and do a high school. So that's it. That's my proposal. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Okay, next we have the consent agenda, which includes the 2 work sessions, the last board meeting, personnel report, second reading and adoption of policy JCA and GCBDC. Any comments, questions?
I'll move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay, motion by Director Nelson, seconded by Director Richardson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Any abstain? Ayes have it, motion passes. Okay, next we have the board action calendar review for February and March. February's self-evaluation for the superintendent, monitor facilities, and policies. Anyone got anything, any comments on the calendar? Okay. We'll move on to student staff recognition. Start out with the student representatives to the board, Kylie Rose and Nancy Diaz Sanchez.
Right. February has been a lovely month for the students at Dallas High School. We've celebrated Human Kindness Week by sharing kind gestures throughout our school, like roses for the seniors, heart name tags, and many heartfelt posters. We also had our blood drive on the 11th. Many people came down to donate blood at the library. And with the snowy weather, our school had a 5-day weekend not too long ago. There are now only 2 weeks left on the trimester. Winter sports are also coming to an end. We've been recognizing our seniors at their final home games. The girls' basketball senior week was last week, while the boys' basketball team had their senior night this week, both having successful matches at the end of their season. Local scholarships came out at the beginning of this month, and seniors have by tomorrow to get those in. The project to beautify the downstairs bathrooms has been delayed due to many of our schedules being packed, but a meeting to start planning is in the works. We've been trying to get the food truck going, and they're currently working on repairs, so we hope to see that project successfully follow through soon.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the building student representative reports. We'll start with Colonel Wright. I guess they don't have anyone this evening. Chenoweth, do we have Elijah and Sophie? Okay, if not, I guess we have a video.
Donde nuestra misión es educar a cada estudiante con los más altos. Tengan Wasco, donde nuestra misión es educar a cada estudiante con los más altos estándares. Maestra los motiva a alcanzar su máximo. Tengan Wasco, donde nuestra misión es educar a cada estudiante con los más altos estándares. Maestra los motiva a alcanzar su máximo potencial para que los gradúen estén preparados para universizar una carrera y la vida. To North Wasco, our mission is educating each student to the highest standard while motivating them to reach their fullest potential and graduating them to be college, career, and life ready. Porque hablo español, puedo oír los cuentos de mi abuelita. Decir familia, madre, amor. Because I speak Spanish. I can listen to my grandma's stories. Familia, madre, amor. Porque hablo inglés. Puedo aprender de mi maestra. Es decir, I love school. Because I speak English. I can learn from my teacher. And say I love school. Porque soy bilingüe. Puedo leer libros y books. I can read libros y books. Tengo amigos y friends. Have amigos and friends. Disfruto canciones and songs. Juegos y games. Enjoy canciones and songs. Y me divierto el doble. And twice as much fun. Y algún día porque sé hablar 2 idiomas. And someday, because I speak 2 languages, yo podré hacer el doble de cosas. I will be able to do twice as much. El doble de personas. To help twice as many people. Y hacer lo que haga.
All right, thank you. Next, we have Dry Hollow with Noah Anslinger and Everett Gibson Yodnall.
Hi, I'm Noah Onslinger.
And I'm Everett Vodenall, and we are the fifth grade representatives for Dry Hollow. First off, our word of the month is perseverance. Students have been practicing sticking to things even when it gets difficult. Don't give up when it gets too hard.
Last week, we had a visit from scientist and comedian Alex Zervin, brought to us by the Dalles Civic Auditorium. He had a great spirit and made science funny.
Our OBOB teams had their first practice battle today. We would like to thank coaches Heather and Nikki for helping us be able to have such a successful OBOB program.
Next, the PTA, along with Sodexo, are working to get a covered area installed on Dry Hollow's playground. We'll keep you posted.
Anyways, next week for Read Across America, we will have a Who, Hair, and Crazy Sock Day, as well as a Character Con Day. If any of you would like to be guest readers, you can reach out to Mrs. Lloyd. We'd love to have you.
Finally, Mr. Fierce is leading our drama club in a play written by Mr. Fierce himself titled The Wizard of Dry Hollow on May 20th at Dry Hollow. They will also be performing on the evening of May 21st at the Dalles Civic Auditorium.
To end off our news report, we'd like to say a joke. Did you hear the joke about the buffalo with no ears?
No, I've never heard that before.
Well, neither did he.
This has been Noah Onslinger
And Everett Vodenall.
Have a good night.
Everyone.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the Dalles Middle School, Rosalind Elliott. Okay, move on to Innovations with Adrian Miramontes.
There we go. Good evening, members of the school board, faculty, and community members. My name is Adrian, and I'm thrilled to be here tonight to share some amazing things happening at Innovations Academy and Innovations Virtual Academy. First, let's talk about our recent parent-teacher conferences. These meetings were a success, kind of like a well-balanced group project where everyone does their part. Parents got back in on their students' progress, teachers shared helpful feedback, and students like me got a chance to reflect on our learning. It was a great way to bridge the gap between home and school. We're grateful for the teamwork. Speaking of teamwork, we also hosted a fantastic family night. Families came together for an evening filled with fun, learning, and community spirit. Whether they were participating in hands-on activities, enjoying great conversations, or just having a blast together, the event was a hit. It was a reminder that when schools and families work together, students thrive. Plus, let's be honest, any event that brings people together and includes snacks is always a success. Another highlight was our virtual field trip to the Oregon Humane Society. Even though we weren't in person, we still got to meet some of the dedicated staff who worked tirelessly to help animals in need. We even learned how we can be a part of their mission, whether that means volunteering, adopting, or just being kinder to the furry or not so furry friends in our lives. And now we're gearing up for the end of the trimester celebration. We're currently in planning stages, but we know it will be a fun way to wrap up all the hard work we've done. Thank you for listening, and I'm proud to be a student at Innovations. I can't wait to see what this year has in store.
All right, thank you. Next, we have the Dalles High School, Riley Elliott.
Good evening, District 21 School Board. I'm Riley Elliott, and I'm the Executive School Board Representative and Secretary. I'll get right into the updates of all things TDHS. 2 weeks ago, we had Human Kindness Week. Each day focused on something like kindness to self, kindness to others, kindness to school, and kindness to community. There were several lunchtime activities. One of my personal favorites was the new kindness mural that the graphics club started painting in the hallway. And there was also slime making during lunch that was super well attended. The blood drive happened Tuesday of Human Kindness Week, and we exceeded our goal with a total of 37 pints donated. Thank you to those of you who supported us again this year. The juniors have been busy state testing for the last couple of weeks, and they're wrapping things up this week. Tomorrow is fly-up day. High school students will have a half day, while incoming freshmen will have a chance to explore the school and try some of the elective classes that we offer at TDHS. Our teams have been busy finishing up a great season of TDHS athletics. Girls basketball finished second in the league, qualifying for playoffs. Their next game is on Friday away. Sydney Newby made Lady Hawk history by scoring over 1,000 points in her high school career. Boys basketball has a playing game this Saturday at home against Pendleton. Kaya Doty is headed to Ashland for ski championships this coming week. 11 swimmers qualified for state this last weekend. Kaya Doty finished 4th in the 100-meter breaststroke, and Everest Leonardson finished 5th in the 200-meter individual medley. Wrestlers Josh Brackenberry and Aiden Flores competed in state yesterday. The cheer team finished 3rd in state. We're looking forward to another great season as our athletes transition into spring sports. Practice begins this coming Monday. That's just a brief summary of all the fun stuff we're doing over at TDHS. Thank you all for your time and how you've been serving our school.
Yeah, thank you. Next, we have staff reports, D21 Education Association and Northwest Education Support Professionals representatives.
Good evening, Dr. Bernal, NWCSD Board of Directors, members of the audience present, in body and online. My name is Sonia Schatz. I'm the president of the NWESPs and a media assistant at Colonel Wright. I represent the classified staff of our district, including Mosier Community School.
My name is Jody Ketchum. I'm the president of D21 EA and PE teacher at Colonel Wright. I represent the licensed staff of our district, including Mosier Community School, and will be giving a joint report from both unions tonight. As we have started the bargaining process for new contracts for both bargaining units, we want to start in a collaborative and positive manner. As representatives of D21 EA and North Wasco ESP, we want to attract and retain high-quality teachers and ESPs who shape the future of our students and community. In light of increased responsibilities, inflation, and regional salary disparities, we want the school board to know that we will be pursuing meaningful pay raises for our district's teachers and ESPs. Inflation and cost of living. The rising cost of living has significantly impacted our staff's financial well-being. Increases in housing, healthcare, and essential goods have outpaced our current salary structure, making it difficult to meet their basic needs. Teacher ESP retention and recruitment challenges. Our district has experienced high teacher ESP turnover, with many educators leaving for better paying opportunities elsewhere. This disrupts student learning and places additional strain on our remaining staff. A competitive salary package will help attract new staff and retain experienced educators, ensuring stability in our schools. We have an increased workload and responsibilities. Teachers and ESPs have taken on additional responsibilities, including adapting to new technologies, new curriculum, supporting students' social emotional needs, and managing larger class sizes. Compensation should reflect these additional duties and the evolving demands of the profession.
Neighboring districts and states offer higher salaries, putting our district at a disadvantage in hiring and retaining qualified staff. Private sector professionals with similar levels of education and experience earn significantly more, making it challenging to keep skilled educators in the profession. Proposed solutions: annual salary increase, implement a structured, sustainable annual pay raise to keep pace with inflation and industrial standards. Retention bonuses, provide incentives for teachers with tenure to encourage long-term commitment to our district. Competitive starting salaries, increase entry-level pay to attract new educators and remain competitive with neighboring districts. Compensation for additional responsibilities, increase stipends for teachers who take on extra duties such as mentoring, extracurricular activities, and administrative tasks. We urge the school board to work collaboratively with us to prioritize teacher and ESP salaries in the upcoming budget discussions. Investing in our educators is an investment in our students' future. We welcome the opportunity to collaborate on solutions that ensure fair compensation and a thriving educational environment for all. Thank you for listening.
Thank you. Next, we have school board subcommittee reports. Thank you. Scholarship Committee Director Winelledge.
Just a reminder that tomorrow, the 28th, is the closing date for scholarship applications.
Okay, thank you. Community Outreach Team Director Nelson.
Yeah, I have a report. Mostly the meeting that was held this week was all about getting ready for the team that's going to Washington, D.C. to advocate for our projects that we're planning and we participate in within the city of the Dalles and in our region. So I think they'll all be in Washington, D.C. about March 9th. And just to give you an example of some things that we're working on would be the airport business park and hangar, 6th Street Bridge, our child care center at the Old Chenoweth Middle School, and brownfield programs and other local and regional projects. So they're there to talk to our US congressmen and senators that represent us to see if we can for sure get the federal funding that is connected with those projects because, as you know, at the federal level, things have changed. So there's so much uncertainty about whether those funds are still in place. And especially our learning center, we actually have a contracted with that being built, but we have no idea whether that's still all in place. Another example of something that just happened is the firing and laying off of personnel for the Bonneville Dam. And so just so you get the feeling for the impact that could have on something like that for us. So there's reliability concerns for our community. Fewer BPA field crews mean slower response times during outages. The Dalles sits at a critical transmission hub for the Northwest. Local industries like tech and manufacturing depend on reliable power. Extreme weather events like ice storms, wind, and heat could have more severe impacts. Local community impact. Many BPA and employees live right here in the Dalles and in Wasco County. These job losses affect our neighbors, our friends, our customers. Decades of local knowledge about our power system are walking out the door. The BPA staff understand the Dalles' unique infrastructure and challenges. These employees have built relationships with local utilities over the years. The loss of stable, well-paying jobs impacts our local economy. The specialized knowledge of these workers have about our area cannot be easily replaced. Economic development challenges. The Dalles is seeing growth in data centers and tech companies. These new businesses require timely grid connections. Fewer BPA engineers means longer delays for new power connection. Could slow down the local business expansion and job creation. So that's just an example of one little thing that happened that has multiple effects just on our community. That's all I have to report.
All right, thank you. Wellness Committee, Director Richardson.
I do not have a Wellness Committee report this evening.
Equity Committee, Director Winilage. Wasco County Forest Collaborative, Director Nelson.
I have messages which are similar for that too, that I just went over. So over the last week, thousands of Forest Service employees were fired, including numerous staff members on the Mount Hood National Forest Collaborative, on Mount Hood National Forest. There's a gag order in place that limits the ability of the Forest Service to share details about who got laid off. However, we know that staff members that we lost in the Mount Hood Collaborative and in the Wasco County Collaborative were playing critical roles supporting wildfire preparations and fuel reduction projects in our community. So our thoughts are with those that are affected. The forest collaboratives have advocated for full funding for Forest Service in the past, and we know that our success in restoring forest health and reducing wildfire risk is inextricably linked to our partnerships with the agency. We remain committed to this partnership. Please help us support our Forest Service colleagues during this difficult time. This was written by our Andrew Spath, our facilitator for both collaboratives, Hood River and Wasco County. I want to read a letter of support for the Wasco County Community Wildfire Defense Grant application. So this is important because in the laying off of Forest Service personnel, that affects things like something that's already kind of been arranged. And so there's uncertainty about whether these things can happen in the future. So we wrote a letter in support of what Wasco County commissioners are applied for a wildfire defense grant application. And so the status of that is now uncertain. On behalf of the Wasco County Forest Collaborative, I'm pleased to offer our support for Wasco County's application for Community Wildfire Defense Grant. This funding will provide critical resources to implement priority actions identified in the Wasco County Community Wildfire Protection Plan and will further ongoing collaborative efforts to reduce wildfire risks to rural communities in Wasco County. The communities of Mosier, Rowena, and Chenoweth face some of the highest wildfire risk in the nation, with hazard ratings exceeding 96% relative to other U.S. communities. The proposed project directly aligns with the Wasco County Forest Collaborative's mission to foster collaboration and implement proactive wildfire mitigation strategies that protect people, property, and forests. We support the comprehensive approach outlined in this grant application, including strengthening collaboration, establishing community buffers, such as removal of hazardous funds will help moderate fire behavior and improve containment strategies in the event of a wildfire. Protecting homes. The defensible space and home hardening initiatives proposed in this application, including hazard tree removal, direct mitigation assistance, and public outreach, will enhance community resilience. In increasing capacity, the continuation of a full-time wildfire coordinator position will ensure long-term leadership and support for wildfire mitigation initiatives, helping to sustain and expand the progress we made in Wasco County. So similar story here in both of the committees that I serve on. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Next, we have OSB Legislative Policy Committee, Director Richardson.
Thank you, Chair. I'll be paradoxically brief because the lobbyists on behalf of OSB have been really, really busy tracking. Now I think it's over 157 different bills that are coming in and out of committee. We get a consolidated report on Friday, so I'll continue to send those out through the Legislative Policy Committee channels. Thank you to everyone who responded to the call for action about Senate Bill 916, which was about granting unemployment benefits to workers on strike. Providing stories about students and lived experiences really helped to add heart to dry legal language, and they wanted to express their appreciation for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, next up, we have new business, and I'll turn it over to Director Richardson on board direction on complaint.
Thank you, Chair. The board convened an executive session last month and in this month to review details of a complaint. I will entertain any motions for action on that complaint.
I make a motion that based on its review of the complaint filed January 9th, 2025, the board has determined that the complaint is without merit and directs legal counsel to notify the complainant of the reasons for the board's decision.
Thank you, Director Nelson. There's a motion on the table. Is there a second? Thank you, Director Winillage. Let's do a roll call vote of members who are voting. Adrian, Director Marmont. Thank you, Director Lopez votes aye. Director Nelson? Aye. Votes aye. Director Jones? Abstain. Director Jones abstains. Director Richardson votes aye. Director Winillage? Director Winillage votes aye. Motion is unanimous. Please direct counsel accordingly. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have Superintendent's report. Dr. Bernal.
I do not have a report this evening.
Okay, Chief Financial Officer, Director, or Mr. Anderson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. With your indulgence, I'd like to take a moment before I start this and ask Tamara Taylor to come up and tell us a little bit about the future chef competition that we, it wasn't that painful to judge, I might add.
Hi. First of all, I do want to thank all of those that came. We had probably about 40 parents, grandparents, and extra family members come and watch our kiddos. We had principals and a whole cheering group came from Dry Hollow. So we started out receiving 18 recipes. And most of them were from Dry Hollow, but we had to pick from everybody. So I had assistants paring down our recipes, came up with 8, And those are the ones that helped or put on the competition, those 8 students. We had the kids, if you guys have never been there, and parents, if you have never been there, it is so well worth going there and seeing these 3rd, 4th, and 5th graders put their heart and soul into the recipes. They are so serious. And then they become really shy when the judges are asking questions. But yes, it was a lot of fun. Gwen McNeil had a Pozzoli recipe that, yeah, she won the competition. It shows our area. That's our favorite recipe that we serve in our schools. And I'll be honest, I just spent a year at the Head Start program, and those kiddos, that was their favorite recipe that we would serve. So anyway, this competition from here, they have the various areas or various schools within our region will be competing until April. Then in April, Gwen's recipe will go into be judged. And then from there, the recipe chosen from that will go on to the national competition. So the paper wrote a great article. Stephanie put that in, had some great pictures, and that's about it.
Thank you very much. It was fun, and to remind the board, Sodexo did their competition. They buy all the supplies and organize the whole thing. All we have to do is taste the stuff and choose a kid, so it was pretty easy. Again, thank you, Tamara. So the first item, Mr. Chairman, is a supplemental budget, Resolution 24-510. We're anticipating a contribution, in fact, we received it this week, to the Capital Improvement Fund to help pay for the new press box at the football field. But I don't have authority to spend it until we have a supplemental budget.
Chair, I'll move to approve the resolution 24-2510, resolution adopting a supplemental budget and making appropriations within the Capital Improvements Fund.
Motion by Director Richardson, seconded by Director Nelson. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Any abstain? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Thank you. The next one seems minor. It's only a $5,000 transfer of appropriations, but $1 that's not appropriated is still a violation. So I'm asking the board to make a transfer within the local grants fund of $5,000 from support services to instruction.
Chair, I'll move to approve resolution 24-2511, transferring appropriations local grants fund.
Motion by Director Richardson, seconded by Director Wynne-Elledge. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed say nay. Any abstain? Ayes have it, motion passes.
Okay. Thank you. Next is just the routine financial statements that I provide to the board every month. And thank you, Dana, for your communications about somebody's paying attention. Somebody looks at these actually, which is kind of rewarding. I got to take a minute. I got to draw your attention. You may be experiencing history. This enrollment graph has never looked like this in the nearly 20 years I've been doing this graph. We have an unusual rise for this time of year. So one data point doesn't make a trend, but this is hopeful. Along those lines, you'll recall we determined that the original estimate of membership was too high. I petitioned them to reopen it. Unfortunately, they finally caught up with that, and so they've recalculated the state school fund, and our share of the state school fund in the next 3 payments is reduced by $1,087,000 from the original estimate. So we began it with $1 million deficit balance, and now our revenue this year is another $1 million short. So we got some serious underspending of the budget to do. And going forward, this budget is really a struggle. As we've talked about several times, the unexpected significant increase in the PERS rate is a very steep hill to climb. Some of the things that Director Nelson talked about are impacting our estimates too. There is some uncertainty around the title programs, federal funding, and even in the food service world, what the reimbursements from the USDA will be. So we are getting a bit of clarity on the state-funded grants, so I think we can probably finalize those, but we got a serious shortfall. And I don't recall if I reported to the board already, but if I did, I'll repeat it. We have sent in the estimate of membership and revenue for next year. We reduced this one to 2,820 students, and my estimate for next year is 2,805. Again, a slight reduction. I'm really hoping that the low kindergarten enrollment this year is an anomaly, but I guess I'm not willing to take that whole leap and say it's going to be a normal size class. So the challenge with this budget, given that we turned in a lower estimate, is trying to align the obligations that we have with the revenue that 2,805 students will generate. That's the challenge. We hope is to right-size the spending in the district. And I think you all recognize that if I hit that number, it would be a complete coincidence. Trying to guess how many students will be here in June of 2026 is something less than an exact science. And how many of them will be special ed and how many of them will be, it's just a guess. It's just an estimate. Unfortunately, they will true it up again. So they will pay us going forward based on 2,805 students until about this time next year when they'll say, really? Or, wow, you got more. You should take more of my money. So we'll see. It could happen. I think that's all I have, Mr. Chairman.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the Board Attorney's report. Jason Carey? Nothing? Okay. Next, we have student or discussion action items, resident and non-resident. Dr. Bernal?
Thank you. North Wasco County School Board Policy JECB, admission of non-resident students, requires the board to determine district transfers to and from the district for the following school year annually by March 1st. So we are asking to approve our recommendation this year for 15 non-resident students and 15 resident students.
I'll entertain a motion.
I'll move to two motions. I'll move to grant consent for up to 15 non-resident students to attend school in North Wasco County School District starting the 2025 to 26 school year. And I also will make a motion to grant consent for up to 15 resident students to be released to attend another school district in Oregon starting the 2025 to 2026 school year, with the understanding that all consent is subject to district policy and administrative rule.
Director Richardson?
I just have a question. What's been the historical average of in and out of the district?
Historically, we've had a higher number request out versus the number coming in. So, and in years past, our recommendation was 30. This year, we're capping it at 15.
Okay, motion by Director Nelson, seconded by Director Lopez. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Any abstain? Ayes have it, motion passes. Next, we have sports co-ops and Mr. Evans.
Sorry, before Principal Evans speaks the item, I just wanted to make a comment about these next two agenda items, if I may. North Wasco County School District has a long history of collaborating with and supporting smaller districts in the local area. A co-op agreement allows smaller school districts the opportunity to join with larger school districts to form a co-op in accordance with OSAA rules and regulations. A co-op agreement supports students from smaller school districts by providing them an opportunity to participate in a sport they are interested in, but because of the size of their district may not otherwise have the opportunity because there's not enough interest from within to form a team. In my time serving as superintendent, we have brought forward co-op agreements for consideration. Our past experiences with approved co-ops have been positive ones. It's my recommendation that the board approve the one-year co-op for both baseball and softball, and I will turn the time over to Principal Evans to speak further on this matter.
Well, you stole my speech, so I'll cut mine short. Like Dr. Bernal said, we've got a long history of cooperative agreements, and this this one in particular, and I'm not sure why, has gotten a little bit more attention than ones we've done in the past. Our decision-making process to bring these in front of the board don't change. We don't distinguish between girls wrestling and boys baseball or anything. It's just looking strictly at OSAA philosophy and policy and what's best for kids, opportunities for kids, and what's best for our programs. We are part of OSAA, and that's why this vote is required. OSAA asks that school boards approve this. We have kids that participate and fly back and forth all the time between our districts with different activities, with school dances and even theater, things like that. So there's very much a good working relationship between these districts. I will read real quick the policies around, I guess, or the philosophy around cooperative agreements. And just so you know, I was on a task force a couple of years ago when I was I'm part of the delegate assembly with OSAA that specifically dealt with cooperative agreements. So of all the things around OSAA, and there's a lot of rules, this one I'm more familiar with than others. So I'll read this. This is on page 70 of the OSA handbook. It says, a philosophy that will guide the OSA executive board in reviewing and approving applications for cooperative sponsorship for activities as follows. The executive board will attempt to increase the number of students who are participating in activities by making activities available for students that would not be available in their school because a lack of numbers of joint sponsorships did not occur. And that is exactly what we are doing here. There is no opportunity for these four kids, 4 baseball players and 2 softball players to participate in those sports if they do not do a co-op with us. The section B of this one says the executive board would prefer to see projects that combine smaller schools for sponsorships of an activity rather than a small school program combining with a larger school. So for the last few years, specifically with baseball, Duffer and South Wasco have actually combined. Their numbers are such now that they don't, South Wasco has 0 interest in baseball. And Dufur has an interest of about 3 or 4 kids that are interested in that. And then softball, it's 2. So they've attempted to do that, but they're in a situation now where they're asking for our help with baseball. And then improving a quality team, which in other words, having a better win-loss record will not be a valid criteria in deciding whether approval will be granted. So we take that into consideration. These athletes that are coming our way are fairly inexperienced, or we don't anticipate too many varsity players being with us out of this group. So that's not anything in our consideration. But the bottom line here is this will help. Not only will it help help these athletes participate, it will help our program. There's not a single kid that's going to lose an opportunity from our district because of this co-op. In fact, if we don't do the co-op with baseball specifically, it could drop our numbers enough to where if there's an injury or an ineligibility issue, we may not be able to even field a junior varsity team. So numbers are down, baseball numbers are down sort of countywide right now. So we need this cooperative, and we're asking that you support it. Pat Clark, he's our head coach. He's here today if you have questions for him, but I'll entertain any other questions that you might have. Yeah, Dr. Richardson?
Thank you, Principal Evans. I have 2 questions. One, when students join our teams, do they sign and agree to our athlete handbook and conduct codes?
Yeah, absolutely. They do. They go through our process. They have to sign our code of conduct and everything.
Cool.
Yeah.
And then if they're coming from another school, who ensures that they meet academic qualifications to play?
We typically just communicate that with that school. Our secretary in our athletic office does grade checks, and when she comes across those kids that are not residents of our school, she requests those records from the other school, and they send those over.
I have a few questions. Can you hear me? Okay. So I'm coming from a different place. So this is the first time I've ever been in a school district where you don't have tryouts. So I'm thinking from a different perspective. One of my questions is, what are the guidelines then that we have in place for how many students are on a team, whether it's the Dows or Dufers? I mean, baseball, there's usually 9 players, maybe 15 kids, right? So how many students, softball and baseball, have signed up? Is there a sign up? Or is this just like somebody running down the hall saying, hey, I think I want to play coach? How do you know how many students are going to be involved? And if there's a sign up, is there a deadline? I'm a numbers person. I want to see the facts of the students that want to participate rather than just saying, we have students. I want to see, is there a list? Do we know? I mean, what if there's 45 kids signing up and then you have 4 more coming from Dufur? How are all these kids going to play? That's my concern. And overall, it's the Dow's baseball and softball team, and our students should come first. I'm sorry that Dufur may not be able to have that many students, but I think we need to think of our students first. If the numbers are more than what the teams need, I think we should look at our students first, and then if we're short, then sure, I have no problem having the Dufur kids play with our team. But I think for me to make an informed decision, I want to see the true numbers of who wants to truly participate. And then if depending on the rest of my directors, maybe we need to talk about this when you can give us more information, because everything right now to me is speculative. And I'm concerned that our students may not get the playing time, even though you said they will, but there's a lot of uncertainty and there's all these different scenarios. I would like to see a list of the students that want to participate versus the 4 or 2 coming from Dufur. Because do we want 45 kids sitting on 2 teams, right? Are they really all going to be able to play? Probably not. That's how I'm thinking about it. Thank you for listening.
Let me answer. The answer is no, we don't have 45 kids coming out. So, but I'll let Pat answer the specifics about how many we have on a roster. Boys basketball and boys soccer, we created 3 teams. We try to not cut kids from our teams if we don't have to. Okay, and so there are at times there are cuts, but not probably in the way that you're thinking of them. Sometimes there are cuts due to academics. Sometimes kids aren't maintaining eligibility for the code of conduct, or just work ethic, not showing up to practice. Those are more of the types of cuts that we have. I don't see Dwayne here for softball. He told me there was 30 kids that have signed up for softball, and I think they keep about 15-ish on each team. So that's about 2 teams there. So there's that. And I guess I'll just turn it over to Pat to answer give you an exact number for the baseball, if that would help.
Sure. So I'm Pat Clark. I'm the head baseball coach. Almost my entire staff sitting back there in the back row. I also teach at the high school, my, 4th year coaching here. So as far as the specifics on the numbers, so we use final forms as registration for our actual list. I could pull it up in an instant right now and show you that list. Currently on that list, there's 31 students. Out of that 31, there's about 4 or 5 that I could delete right now because I know they're just signed up and they're not going to play. We do the math all winter, and I could tell you about rogue memorization who's going to be out there on Monday when we start. Without the Doofer students, it's about 25 kids. With 25 kids, you could make 2 teams. We're an injury or 2, a couple academic issues away from being forced to carry only a varsity team, which then in turn will bump out 6 or 7 the Dalles kids who will have a JV season taken away from them because of that. So yes, we may survive without the Doofer kids, and yes, the Dalles kids come first, and I can confidently tell you there will not be a Dalles kid that is pushed out, experience taken away from because of a Doofer student athlete. So as far as our kids coming first, absolutely 100%. We see this as a 100% win-win on both sides. We feel that it will give the Doofer student athletes a better experience than they had. They have a chance to play baseball. We feel like it will sustain our program. And the ultimate goal for us and all the team sports is to get back to having 3 teams. There was a time here in the Dalles where there was always a JV or a varsity, a JV, and a freshman. That's our goal, to get back to that. That way every kid has a better opportunity. So the more we can build numbers, the better. And I know, the co-ops have been, as Dr. Bernal said, in the past, seems like they've kind of been approved without much issue. This one seems to be different. And I did send an email that I'm not sure if you all had a chance to read. I hope you read the last paragraph. I had a conversation with a district staff member last week in which I was told point blank that the big reason that this has been controversy is not because we're worried about numbers, is because there's certain people that do not like families of these players from Doofer. I ask you guys as the board to do the right thing, and if you choose to vote no because of a numbers game, of something that has to do with baseball, with something there, fine. But please do not vote on this based on someone's personal feelings about families. We can't do that as teachers. We can't do that as coaches. I can't cut a player from my program because I don't like their dad, nor would I ever. And I'd be lying to you if I didn't think that's why we're sitting here in this chair, is because somebody called somebody and said, I don't like this guy, don't let him in here. Wasn't sure if I was going to say that tonight, but that's the truth. No kid's going to miss out. Kids are going to have a better experience. It's going to better our program. And if it does get voted down, just hurting kids. Thanks.
So financially, what effect would this have to the district if they were to be approved?
Financially? No.
Yeah, no, there's no.
Well, and I will tell you, we fundraise our butts off. We spend a lot of money on our kids. The Do for Kids that may be coming in, there's not going to be a financial burden on those kids. The district, as far as I know, is not going to spend more money for those kids to play baseball in our program. If anything, we're going to dump a bunch of money into them to give them a good experience. So, and I welcome questions. My baseball staff back here, who I know is 100,000% on board and in support of this, is here. If you guys would like to ask questions, please do. That's why we're here. We came in full support of this, and yeah, thank you.
Is there anything else you need us to provide?
I'd like to see that list. I want to make sure. And what about the softball team? Do we know how many?
30 are signed up.
30.
Mhm.
And it's 2 teams.
That's correct.
Right. So where in the guidelines during this whole sports stuff do we talk, where did it change, or where is it that we used to have 3 teams, now we have 2, maybe we're only going to have 1? Why hasn't, where is that standing? Where is this documentation? I'd like to know why from one year to the next these things bounce around.
The numbers, do you mean talking about how many are on a team, how many
Right.
players it takes to make up a team?
Right.
Yeah, so a good question. It does fluctuate based on who you have in your program and the amount of numbers you have. You need, I mean, baseball's played with nine players, but it's not a 27 kids, you can have 3 teams, right? You need 15 at least to solidify a roster and get through a whole season. So it's really year to year. 3 years ago, we were close. We were close to having 3 teams. We didn't quite get there, and the classes fluctuate. Right now, we have a big senior class, we have a large freshman class, and then we have a very small junior class and a weak sophomore class. Next year, we'll have maybe a bigger class come in. It's really cyclical in what happens at the youth levels. We're trying to build it, but we're just, yeah, I mean, we all wish, I'd love nothing more than to have 50 Dallas kids out there and have a cutthroat tryout next week and be there. We're just not. And we do have quote unquote tryouts. It's not just, hey, come out and here's a uniform. But we know where we are at the current situation, and we can more than support 4 extra, and again, it will help. So.
Thank you, Chair. This is not a question for you, but just a minor point of order with all respect. We don't want to see any names. We all want to be very, very careful to be mindful of FERPA and not expose any kiddos. So maybe the numbers. Yeah, thank you.
Any other members have any comments?
Can I ask one more question? I don't know if you're willing to tell me this, but is personal feelings about people involved in this, has that been discussed?
I can answer for myself. I'm a sports agnostic, geek nerd to the hilt, and I'll be the board member who's all about academics. I understand the importance of having sports at our schools so that kids come and attend, and kids that attend and learn. But otherwise, I just had the honest question about academic qualifications and the conduct, because our student athletes represent us. And we're dang proud when they go to state, and we're danged ashamed if something happens that is not ideal. So that's speaking for myself.
Well, I'm going to speak for myself first. I don't know any of the players in the game. I am new to the area. This is from my experience when I had boys and went to school in Washington State. And so I've never heard of this, I've never seen this before, and that's why I'm asking. And my concern is our students at the Dows. I want to make sure that they're represented, they get to play, and they get to shine. And everything else, you know, is what it is. There's no name calling or thinking somebody I don't know or like. I hardly know anybody around here. So no, it's not anything personal. To me, it's just my investment in our high school and our kids getting the time to play. That's simply it.
Chair, I also want to make sure that we give our student representatives an opportunity to have voice. If you have a comment or opinion about this issue, I don't want to put you on the spot. I know you guys are shy sometimes, but I want to make sure that you have microphone.
I've never participated in any sports before, so this is coming from just my opinion, hearing everything that's being talked about. I'm not really seeing any negatives. I'm really only seeing the positive for both the students and our current team. It sounds like the numbers look good for all students to be well represented and have an opportunity to play. That's my
Yeah, you go.
I do participate in sports, and I always think it's nice to have more people part of the teams. It makes better bonds with everyone. It's nice to have everyone have a chance, even if, due for kids, they don't have a big enough team to do the sports they'd like to pursue and whatnot. So I think it's pretty nice to have more kids part of the team, bigger team, everyone gets a chance to play. So I don't think it's a bad idea. I'd love to have more players and stuff. It's always funner and, more skills, it's nice.
Thank you, Chair. And with that, I would be ready to make a motion to approve both of these action items. I can move separately if you choose, or together. Okay, so I make a motion to approve the cooperative sports agreement with Dufur School District Boys Basketball for 2024-2025. What did I say? Basketball? Oh, they can come too. So cooperative sports agreement with Dufur School District Boys Baseball for 2024-2025. See, this way I don't play sports.
Need a second. Okay, motion by Director Richardson, seconded by Director Nielsen. All in favor say aye and hold your hand up for a second.
Aye.
Okay. All opposed say nay. Abstain? So ayes have it, motion passes. Okay. So now what? Do it again? Huh? We only have five. Yeah. You said we need four. We have five. So it's gotta be three. Okay, so we go on the next. No, if they want to argue on the right, I'm not going to get no of it. If they want to argue,
So just point of order and a clarification, and Mr. Corey can weigh in. We're debating on the majority vote, but it's a majority of the board, not a quorum present, correct? So that would be 4 votes to pass.
now we go on to the next one.
I would move for the next action item, the cooperative sports agreement with Dufur School District Girls Softball for 2024 to 2025. I'll make that motion.
Motion by Director Richardson, second by Director Nelson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed say nay. Abstain? Okay. Great. Is that going to be too late? Can we do it in a meeting? Right. Do we have another meeting? You can meet us afterwards or something, but okay, next we have for information only, policy ACAR, GBN, JBA-AR, GBN, JBA-AR2, and JECBD-AR. Those are all information only. Anyone got any comments on those? Okay, we'll move on to comments, public comments on non-agenda items. A person speaking during designated portion of the agenda for public comments may offer objective criticism of district operations and programs. The board will not hear comments regarding any individual district staff member. The board chair will direct the visitor to the procedure in board policy RL, complaints for consideration of a legitimate complaint involving a staff member. A commendation involving a staff member should be sent to the superintendent, who will forward it to the employee, supervisor, and the board. The board requests that public comments add additional information or perspective than that has been heard already, been mentioned previously, and that portion or the person refrains from repeating a similar point. First, we have Jennifer Dewey. And
was not an opinion. He didn't have an opinion one way or the other, but what he wanted to know is how many of those kids. Okay, but I have time to speak, and I'd like to put this out there because I do think it's something everybody needs to think about, and I do have a right to say something as a citizen. You have a right to talk about non-agenda items, so this time is involved. Okay. Okay, so you guys know everything, and it's not going to go well. I don't know everything, but I know that. Okay. So here, I have a serious complaint about math. I tried to get on top of this in September. I came to you guys in September asking for help because my daughter got moved to an online. Judy, you remember the conversation I had? So you shot me back an email the next day and told me that basically that we had programs, and I asked you guys to come back at the next meeting with what kind of programs we had for students that are at or above level. Didn't hear anything. Several meetings now, and I still have not gotten any answer on that. So I let the whole thing, I didn't pursue it anymore. I sent an email I did send an email to Ms. Kilgore, which is the principal at the middle school, to meet with her to discuss, so we could probably come with I never got a response when I sent her 2 emails, and I called twice. I never got a call back. I was also told that you told Ms. Bernal that she was aware of the situation too. I never got a response back from her either. I didn't pursue, I talked to the teacher. She came and talked to me, the one from Innovations. She talked to me. I had a game plan with her. It seemed to be going okay, but I was still not happy with the situation. Everything seemed to be going okay, and she'd send me weekly updates on the grades so I could see that. Come February, I get an email, and it's addressed to just my daughter and one other kid, so I'm thinking she has problems, saying that you guys installed a new program, and it was going to go into effect because there's kids in the math class that are they were going at their own pace, and they're not at pace to finish, but they all have good grades. But they were going to install that they have to be on pace and have a good grade in order to continue playing sports. So I thought the letter was, and I have it here if you want to see it, but I thought the letter was saying that she was ineligible. So I went and talked to Ms. Kilgore. So I get an email back from her afterwards, because my concern was, I don't understand changing the program mid-program. Her grades were good, everybody else was done on grades, but because she's online, it was not, nobody put her on passing. Then I get the email that comes out to everybody saying that essentially, and she wrote this in the email, these kids are essentially teaching themselves. And she meets with them 1 day out of the week on Zoom. 1 day. And she talks to them. And then she even said in another email that the last 2 sessions they've talked about life experiences, not geometry. 1 day out of the week, that's all she teaches. You wouldn't be okay having a teacher post an agenda on the wall, leaving, and then having the kid monitor themselves and then just check in once a week. That's not okay. So as a consequence, some of these kids did their programs and had their grades good, but stopped. So if you take a test and you get a great test, well, maybe I want to take 2 weeks off, and I don't do anything. But I've still got that 1 grade, and I'm not at my own pace, so I've still got a good grade. To me, that's unacceptable because it's not doing your job and not staffing correctly. And I think that what happened is when you put innovations when you guys all voted for innovations, at that time, I believe, and I don't know this for a fact, you'd have to go back and look, but I believe that you knew you didn't have a math teacher for there, and then you put, in August, you told them what you were doing for the math program. I don't think I signed up for public school, and I expect my daughter and everybody else to get the same opportunities. Because of this, she's had 2 years where she was advanced by 2 years. I don't know is there a standard test that you're going to do at the end to make sure that they all understand it, so that when they move on in high school, they actually are put in the class that they can actually learn and get a good grade in and do well in? Or are they going to struggle because they had 2 years of no supervision? Is there a standard test that's going to happen at the end to see if they can actually move forward or if they should be redoing it? And is this acceptable to you guys?
So you're asking us a level of detail in the curriculum that we're not familiar with at the board, which is why at the last time we talked, I directed you to the superintendent and the building administrator who are boots on the ground. And so I don't have.
But they didn't get back to me and they didn't correspond. They didn't even check until February when they checked the students' grades and their progress. That is when it got noticed. How many months is that? Right now, there's nothing you can do for this year because we're 3 months from the end of the year. I have looked at it like it is a waste of 2 years for a kid that actually had the ability to be at a higher level, that she could have done some college courses while she was still in high school. But now I'm concerned that she's going to have to go back and take those and just go on a regular track. I don't know what more I could have done than reach out with an email and phone calls and then to get no response. And then the responses that I did get finally on the email, it's unacceptable. And you guys need to monitor and you need to go in and inspect what you expect and what you think is happening. Because I sat through that meeting on September and you guys had 2 people give they gave a PowerPoint presentation on what they've done for the janitorial services. And they told you they had cleaned the carpets and everything in, at Dry Hollow. I know for a fact I went up there and they weren't clean. There was food on the carpets. And then they were given the excuse that, well, we didn't shampoo them because the chemicals might hurt the carpets. Other people have their carpets shampooed and it's just fine. But everybody accepted it because they didn't go check it out. What's the program for next year for math for these kids?
Chairman, I would suggest that you direct the superintendent and the curriculum director for the district
All right.
So the question earlier too that we had was, if these kids are out of state, are out of district, going to school out there, or do they live in the district and they're going to education there and they want to play sports here, and how's the funding going? That was the question. And that's not like an opinion on anything, but it should have been taken up.
All right, thank you. Dr. Bernal, did you get that written down? All right, thank you. Next, we have Amy Schwartz.
So last week, or last month, when I was here, I asked about your lice policy, and I was told that I would get an email about it. I did not get an email. So I went in and looked and pulled it up. I pulled up the old one and the new one. And I made, in case you were not, because it seemed like you guys weren't aware of what the policies were. So I also printed them out. And on top is the old one. And then underneath is the new one. And I do see in here that it says that these are Oregon health guidelines, that's kind of what we follow. But it is also at the discretion of the district superintendent too. And so I'm going to ask you, would you first read the old one as it was, just to kind of clear so that people in the audience might know what it used to be, and then also somebody read the first, or I can read the new one if somebody wants to explain what the old one was. I can read it. I don't have to have you read it. I can read it. That's fine. There wasn't one last meeting either. But I was told last time that somebody would get back to me, and nobody has. And I asked for the policy on it and how it's keeping our kids safe, and it's from spreading further and into homes that don't have it. It is a communicable disease is what it says on here. So I will go, if you don't mind, I will read the old one.
40 seconds.
Sure. So I'll just get to the first part. It says, the board recognizes that the district program should be conducted in a manner that protects, enhances student and employee health. So that part right there was huge, because by doing nothing about lice, we are not protecting student and employee health. The other part is it says, institute guidelines for classrooms that will assist in the prevention and spread of head lice. We do nothing. We don't even clean the rooms, and we provide a box of treatment to those families. Whether they use it or not is up to their discretion. But I will tell you right now, it is in my classroom, and it's not going anywhere.
That's the time, and can you make sure someone gets in touch with her as soon as possible? If not, get a hold of us. If you send it to Cindy, it'll come to Director Richardson and I.
And the superintendent or Cindy can send along the American Academy of Pediatric white paper on the current stance for head lice in schools.
Okay, that was the last public comment. So with that, I will adjourn this meeting. Thanks for coming, everyone.